One fine day in late 2021, while driving down a road that I would drive about once a month, I noticed some earth-moving equipment knocking down trees on a property that I knew had some historic structures on it. This historic house with its outbuildings was a part of that drive that I enjoyed seeing on my way to the customers that I visited on a monthly basis. I knew what this meant, what this earth-moving equipment meant. I know what development does, modern developers. There's no respect for history. There's no pause for culture. There's very little care for the environment. Each developer thinking that the minimum required by law is the maximum that they will contribute. The way of the modern developer is to maximize profit at all cost, social, environmental, cultural, or otherwise. It meant that one day, very soon, I would drive that route again, and that house and its majestic barns would be gone forever, replaced by some cheaply built apartments or stick homes. So I got out my camera and I began to record video of the last moments of 231 Corn Road, Greenville, South Carolina. And despite that address, this home is actually in Mauldin, South Carolina. Now, let me just say that the developer had already gotten into the house and looks like just tossed out any belongings that were left in the house and just threw them right out the window, taking the windows with it, like using the items to push out the window or something. So a lot of it's gutted and there's a lot of damage already to the house, but I'm taking a look at this building one last time because more than likely these are the last moments for this house, which has stood here for 160 years, and it's probably going to be destroyed, demolished within just a couple of days. The information that we have about the history of this house is that it was built around 1860, probably actually a little bit before then, making it an antebellum house. It was built by a Mr. Smith, and the Smith family lived in it from 1860 to the 1920s. And it was in the 1920s that the Corn family, and particularly William Raleigh Corn, bought this house and then raised his family in it. And it remained in their family for almost 100 years until the developer bought it in 2021. Mr. Smith, who built the first part of the house, then sold it in the 1920s. Sold it in the 1920s to Mr. Corn. And he added some of the other additions to it. And then after that, one of the daughters of the Corn married a Garrett, and then to the Garrett family. The video we're watching was taken on November 30th and December 3rd, 2021, just a few days apart. The audio isn't great, not sure why, but I'll put some subtitles in there so we can follow along. All right, so leaving this front left room, I'm going to go immediately to the front right. Decent sized room, but looks like it was recently used as a bedroom. I don't know that it had a chimney in this section. I believe that as soon as you come in the door and go to the right, I think you're in the newer part of the house. I mean, obviously, if you were to go off things like the siding, you would think that, but that siding could be covering something down there. That is how houses were sided, or interior siding, for a long time. tongue and groove. So there's a stairwell going up. And keep going, this time to the right. Now there's the big and what I believe to be a newer fireplace. So we're probably in the living room, and this would have been the kitchen. This could have been a dining room, actually. I don't know. Kitchen pretty small. So I believe this to be a newer section, but I don't know. I don't know nothing about this house. These are visual observations, is all they are. Now, if you come straight back from the front door, you got the stairwell going up, but if you come straight back, it goes to this section here, which looks like now, at least for this wall, this was probably an exterior wall at one time. Maybe even another porch, probably another porch. And then it's been enclosed and probably had laundry in here, your water heater, your panel box. Okay. So coming out of this former laundry room, the front door. Remember, this side I believe to be older. That was the first room I went to. Now I'm going to go into the back left room. Even these walls, look. This room had a chimney too, or a fireplace. These walls appear to have been covered over by a newer siding, but this little closet area here still reveals some of the old and probably original. So that's the back left room. And then we can go upstairs. Ceiling is also tongue and groove. All right, let's go upstairs. Room back there. And the first one I'm going to go to is immediately to my right, top of the stairs. This is the front left corner, second floor room of the building. Looking very original in here. Even the upstairs room had a fireplaces in this section. And now here we can see the cause of my concern. Those machines aren't far away. So let's go to the front right room upstairs. Maybe a newer addition. Might still be old, but there's tongue and groove behind this. All windows have been removed out of here. Attic access. I'm not going to go up there, but that's what it looks like. Coming back out into the hallway, second floor again, top side of the stairs. The railing appears to be pretty bad. Back right corner room, another bedroom, no chimney. This shows that gap between the newer chimney and the end of the second floor. And yeah, just looking down to that laundry area? No, I don't know. That. Let's take a look here at the roof. Okay, walking out of this room. Back left corner room. Older section of the house again. Yep. chimney. It's 4 chimneys. 2 up, 2 down. Anyway, that's about it for this house. A little closet area. Anyway, that's it. I might go and talk to one of the guys working, see if I can find out if there's any way to preserve this, and maybe if somebody wanted to buy it and move it before they completely demolish it. I think that will be my objective in calling an audience with them. So that's exactly what I did when I left. When I shut the camera off, I walked down to where the guys that were operating the earth-moving equipment were, that were cutting down the trees, and I talked to them. I hailed them from a safe distance, and when they saw me, I approached the cab, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know that this is a very historic house here. Dates back before the Civil War, and if the plan is for it to be demolished, we'd like to move it to land. We already have people that have agreed to help with this and to fund it. No cost to the owners. We would pay all the costs to have this house picked up and moved to other land. Can we get a deal worked out? And basically the developer rejected that by not responding. And a few days later, this house and all of its outbuildings were destroyed forever. You don't get that back. Worse yet, one of the guys on the machine, I think the excavator, actually told me that they had already torn down 2 or 3 barns, one of which had 6 different horse-drawn carriages in it, ranging from just a simple horse-drawn, 2-horse wagon to a full-on covered barouche, or buggy, and they just destroyed it. They piled it up. This is the heap. This is the heap of the outbuildings and those old horse-drawn wagons that they had already destroyed. And I was just asking, look, can we not just, no cost to the builder, like we will provide all the cost, just don't destroy this house. But they did. They did. They tore it down. It's gone. So all the video you've seen to this point was captured on November 30th, 2021. And then moving forward, this is captured on December 3rd, 2021. Just a few days later. A lot transpired in those few days. And that was in the trying to get the developer to save the house, to save something. And nothing seemed to be working. But going back to that book, it's some kind of history of Mauldin. Maybe I'll put the title of the book in the comments below. But quoting from that book again, there apparently was an old cotton gin on the property that was built out of like a log cabin style dovetail notch construction. And it had been torn down when Mr. Korn bought the property, and he moved it across the street and rebuilt using the same timbers a hog pen, and that was still on the property at the time the developer had bought it in 2021. It had been turned into a barn by that time, and so the historical groups that I was working with were then of the opinion that, well, look, if you're not going to let us save the house, can you at least let us save the barn with these historic timbers? Those timbers might date back to the early 1800s, far before the Civil War. And so there was a renewed interest a few days later, after we had been kind of quietly rejected for saving the house, to maybe at least save this barn because it had been noted in this book. Alright, so I'm inside this part, and there's a door, And that is what I'm suspecting they're talking about. Yeah. So anyway. Looks kind of old and in bad shape. But yeah, that's probably pretty old. It's got a pretty cool dovetail notching, and there are markings on the side, but I mean, look at that. They are currently cutting down trees as we speak. But yeah, this is what he's talking about. This must have been the cotton gin that when it was disassembled, it was across the street over there. I think that's Ann right there. These are the buildings. So out here on Corn Road again is here. So this would be that front side that you would see. Front side of this building. I can't zoom out anymore. I should zoom out. I think it's alright. What we're looking at is the first floor of this section of the building that we discovered hand-hewn log timbers in this building. In the end, the developer did not permit us to take either the house nor the barn, so both were destroyed. In its place, they built an apartment complex called Evolve and Homestead.